Coming up on FSU Headlines, he made the ultimate sacrifice for his country. Now his alma mater is honoring him.
And they're on the front lines of safety every day, but could their lives be at risk? How new Florida State research is aiming to help beat the heat.
Plus, basketball and engineering lead to Florida State. Stay tuned for these stories and more. FSU Headlines starts now. Hello and welcome to another edition of FSU Headlines, coming to you from the beautiful campus of Florida State University here in Tallahassee. I'm Dennis Schnitker.
And I'm Seshmi Hayes. Our top story this month, Florida State honors a decorated naval officer who made the ultimate sacrifice while serving his country.
For many years, the FSU Tennis Center here on campus has been named for that officer, alumnus Scott Spiker.
But now a new monument and marker here adds details for those unfamiliar with Spiker's story and his fateful mission many years ago.
A 1980 business administration graduate at Florida State University, Scott Spiker went on to serve his country as a U.S. Navy pilot. He died in 1991 when his FA-18 Hornet was shot down on the first night of Operation Desert Storm. He's regarded as the first American casualty of the Gulf War.
Scott was a fantastic guy, and I know, like I said, it's kind of a cliche in these environments. Everybody in a memorial service is always a fantastic person, but he really was. He truly was, as I said before, one of the few people I've ever met, if anybody else said, I do not know anybody that's had a negative thing to say about him. He was just a positive guy. Never tried to stab anybody in the back or anything like that. It's just everything. Everybody enjoyed being around him, and he just made people better. He was just a very positive influence on pretty much everybody he met. Great guy.
An avid tennis player, Spiker spent much of his spare time on the courts. To honor his memory, back in 1993, Florida State named its new tennis facility the Scott Spiker Tennis Center.
25 years ago, funny enough, I stood here as a senior student athlete on the women's tennis team, alongside my teammates, my coaches, the men's team, and we did the ribbon cutting for the opening of this facility. This was the first ball ever hit on these tennis courts, and myself and a senior teammate of mine got to strike the ball out there. A day for us where it was a nice, new, shiny facility. We didn't really understand the importance of the namesake of what it meant to be Scott Spiker tennis courts. So today I stand in this exact same spot today, or actually when we broke ground that day, this became the home of Florida State tennis. This was our home.
And for the last 25 years, the Florida State men's and women's teams have paid homage to Spiker on these courts. Remembering his bravery, honor, and dedication to his country, the university recently decided to honor Spiker in a new way that not only remembers his name, but tells more of his story.
We have worked together with the family to create a memorial for Scott Spiker that will draw people to it and then read about who Scott is. And so now people will know who the FSU Tennis Center was named after, more about him, and then the hope is that that inspires them to come together and to walk through life together.
The new memorial features a bronze helmet similar to what Spiker would have worn. With a black granite pedestal, bronze plaque, and his name, the helmet sits front and center as a reminder for players on the court and passers-by.
On that day in '93, we didn't understand at that time, at 20 years old, what it meant and what Scott's legacy meant. But now, I think we got it right. We used to have a sign out front, had Scott's name. It didn't tell a story. It didn't tell the history. It didn't share information about his legacy, about his family, about what it meant to be the namesake of our facility. So today, we are so honored, we are so humbled that our facility, our home for our student athletes, for our student veterans, is built upon and surrounded by the bravery and uncompromised spirit of Scott Spiker and his legacy.
Scott Spiker, gone but not forgotten here at Florida State University.
The Power of We organization here at Florida State brings students together to discuss important issues. Recently, The Power of We brought to campus a pair of former congressmen from opposite sides of the aisle to discuss gridlock in Washington and how to solve it.
The point that we're trying to make is that there are certain structural problems that are incentivizing extreme behavior.
This evening we are hosting the third installment of our Shared Spaces series. We're co-hosting with the Village Square, and it will be an opportunity for us to hear from two former U.S. congressmen on opposite sides of the political aisle who've joined forces to share the stage and offer their perspectives on gridlock in Washington, polarization, and what it means for our democracy.
Supreme Court has largely said, as long as the voters lead the initiative and it doesn't violate certain heightened classes of constitutional protections, race, gender, and so forth, that these gerrymandering reforms are constitutional.
We're trying to kind of pull back the curtain and tell people, here's what's going on. Here's the gridlock, here's why it's happening with the money and the media and the gerrymandering, all the different factors. Try to tell some stories, keep it light, but then tell people how you can solve the problem by getting involved. Before I got elected, I would have said 100% the money is the single biggest problem in our country. After serving for 4 years in the Congress, I would say the gerrymandering is the single biggest problem.
Bipartisanship gets confused with being moderate in ideology. One of the things we talk about is we're not asking people to become moderates if they're not. You can be progressive, you can be conservative, you can be moderate, but how do we figure out a way to reward elected officials for all working together? Because ultimately it's about accountability, and I think that's what most voters are looking for.
A $1.7 million grant is helping fund the search for better ways to treat stroke. The National Institutes of Health awarded the grant to FAMU FSU College of Engineering researchers Sam Grant and Teng Ma to find alternative treatments for stroke. Professor Ma has been investigating how to utilize cells from bone marrow and fat tissue as a way to treat what's known as ischemic stroke. This collaboration with Professor Grant, who oversees the user program at FSU's National High Magnetic Field Laboratory, may help develop new treatments for this complicated medical issue. Ultimately, the goal is to develop cell therapy technology to aid stroke treatment.
The grant is through the National Institutes of Health. It is a fairly large grant at 5 years and provides us with funding in order to really pursue how we can precondition mesenchymal stem cells, introduce them into stroke models, and then hopefully recover some of the functionality of ischemic stroke.
This is one thing about engineering and the impact of engineering in medicine. I think that's gradually people started to realize that engineering is no longer a tool in medical research, but also become a true driver in medical technology. And especially in translating discoveries to therapeutic options. And that's where it's exciting to be an engineer. Then you can really work at the front line of this exploration that translate discovery to something eventually useful to patients. And that's what we engineers are trained to do. And that's what we really are here to do. And with all the resources here available to us, and also excellent collaboration opportunity, that's really exciting to be at the moment.
Technology breakthroughs in clothing materials and design have benefited all of us, but perhaps none more so than first responders. While burn injuries among firefighters have plummeted in the last decade, there's just one problem. Cases of heat stroke, exhaustion, and cardiac arrest deaths have spiked as protective gear is much more insulated. The basic firefighting turnout suit is composed of a 3-layer composite, the outer shell, moisture barrier, and thermal liner. Over the past decade, the basic suit has undergone an extensive evolution with extra layers, padding, and reinforcements. Florida State Assistant Professor Meredith McQuarrie is an expert on protective clothing for first responders and aims to shape the design of the gear to maximize protection and minimize heat buildup.
They're working hard in a hot environment. Even if they're not in a structural fire, if they're responding to a vehicle accident on a hot, humid summer Tallahassee day, or even February day with the way things are now, very quickly they can become overcome with their own metabolic heat production. And so at the time that we were originating this study, over 50% of firefighter injuries and fatalities were linked back to heat exhaustion and cardiac events.
Macquarie's research study will inform the National Fire Protection Association as it revises and adopts new standards for protective clothing. On average, a standard coat, pants, boots, gloves, and helmet weigh around 50 pounds. Once tools and thermal imaging gear is added, the load increases to around 100 pounds.
Well, coming up next, the only national laboratory in the state of Florida opens its doors for all to visit.
On a day like today, we're expecting over 8,000 people to come through and look at our exhibits. There are more than 75 hands-on exhibits, and it's a wonderful day.
We'll tell you all about it coming up next.
What does preeminence look like?
Moonlight, Best Picture.
Florida State University.
When you buy a Florida State University license plate,
you're not just showing your school spirit.
You're supporting students like us.
In the lab,
in the classroom,
and in the library.
Putting this tag on your vehicle helps Florida State students achieve their dreams. So show your pride. Purchase an FSU license plate today.
Welcome back to FSU Headlines. I'm Dennis Schnitker. Florida State University's legendary symbols, Osceola and Renegade, joined the FSU Marching Chiefs and University President John Thrasher at the Seminole Tribe of Florida's annual Brighton Field Day and Rodeo. Take a look.
We're here at Brighton Village, part of the Seminole Reservation. It's where they have the festival every year and the parade and all the things that are going on around here.
This is the 80th Brighton Field Day, and what this is just a celebration of culture and just providing, surrounding areas and the state, whoever wants to attend, a glimpse of Seminole culture and heritage.
Traditions of the Seminoles are right here in this area. This is the major central part of the Seminole Reservation. We want to keep the relationship strong. They love us, we love them. We respect the relationship, as we've always said, and it's a strong relationship. And so for us to come down here and honor them, I think, to meet with the leadership, it's an amazing relationship. There's some new leadership in the tribe, and we're looking forward to visiting with some of them.
We're just so blessed to be able to call ourselves the Seminoles at Florida State University and to be here this year to celebrate 40 years of Osceola and Renegade. So we're here and happy to celebrate 40 years and looking forward to many, many more.
It's something to be proud of, not only for the Brighton Reservation community here, but also for the Seminole tribe.
It's a great day for us to celebrate this incredible relationship with the Seminole tribe.
And Osceola and Renegade have been making the trip to the Brighton Reservation since 2012.
As the Florida State Museum of Fine Arts unveils its newest exhibit, Decolonizing Refinement, Haitian artist Edouard Duval Carré is the renowned artist behind this work, bringing culture and history to Florida State. The month-long special exhibition is part of the university's mission to enrich both the university and the Tallahassee community by exhibiting works of art to expand its understanding. The exhibit was curated in collaboration with the FSU Department of Art History. Vibrant paintings, sculptures, and installations are accompanied by plantation artifacts loaned from the state of Florida collections, including a 19th century sugar mill and objects from the Grove Museum and Goodwood Plantation Museum in Tallahassee. The exhibition will be on display through April 1st at the Florida State Museum of Fine Arts. For more information, visit mofa.fsu.edu. And from art to science, the Florida State University National High Magnetic Field Laboratory was proud to host its 23rd annual open house this month. The theme of this year's event was the science of sports.
Several hands-on demonstrations played off of that theme, with more than 8,000 people expected to file through the doors of the Mag Lab.
Inside, there were over 75 exhibits on hand, and visitors were able to experience what the Mag Lab has to offer, from concentration mind games to nitrogen ice cream. It's home to the world's strongest MRI machine and world record magnets. The National Mag Lab is where education meets the fun of discovery. Parents and kids of all ages attend, and for many, it's an annual family event.
I got a lollipop from this thing where they put this like headband around your head and they clip something on your earlobe, and it's like a concentrating thing where it's like you actually you make something move with your mind, and it's really cool. It's really cool.
It gets me a chance to interact with some of the younger kids who might be a little bit afraid to approach me, and I'm in a lot of pictures and I get to talk about science and what the kids like about science.
The National High Magnetic Field Laboratory at Florida State is the world's largest mag lab in terms of scientific output and in terms of education as well. They host more than 1,700 scientists a year to do experiments using some of the most powerful magnets in the world. The Mag Lab Open House is part of the lab's educational mission, focusing on education and community outreach. Did you know Florida State University operates a K-12 charter school in Southeast Tallahassee? Officially, Florida State University Schools, or FSUS, is known locally as Florida High. Whatever the name, it serves as a research center and laboratory for teacher education and innovation. And now the children attending Florida State's school within a school have a new place to play.
Today was the ribbon cutting for our new FSUS playground. This was partnership work between our parents, fundraisers that came together. They put together a playground initiative. FSU heard about it.
This playground needed to be built. Florida High is an integral part of Florida State University, and we need to support it. And this was a great way of doing that, because it obviously has already made a difference to a lot of the young children that are here.
FSU President Thrasher, as part of our partnership work, stepped in and helped. Actually, they funded the majority of it for us, knowing that we're a K-12 organization and funds are often tight, and we want to make sure that we have all of our teachers and all of our classrooms funded.
That's why we have this development school, and it's a great asset to Florida State. It's a great asset to the young people who want to be teachers, who come here and practice teach. But it's a great asset for the children who go here from the neighborhoods all around Tallahassee. So we're very proud of it and very positive about our relationship with the school.
It's extremely important. We know that for brain development, for kids to grow up and be productive citizens, they need to play. And so watching them cut through that ribbon, and I don't know if you noticed that we all had to kind of duck as we came through. They came out in droves to make this just another part of our great campus, so it was pretty neat.
Well, Dr. Chambers has done a great job. She and her volunteers that have come out and made this a priority for the school, grassroots effort, working with Florida State. We couldn't be happier, and the results are phenomenal.
FSUS serves as the FSU College of Education's developmental research school. It's a 1,700 student K-12 school operated under a charter agreement by FSU and provides a venue for educational research, curriculum innovation, educator development, and statewide reform efforts.
Well, still to come on FSU Headlines, Mark Vaughn joins us for sports and a special feature on one of Florida State's athletes taking a unique path to graduation.
When I was playing baseball, just being in hotel rooms and watching March Madness and just dreaming about coming to Florida State and being a part of that.
Screen set by Boris, dribble driver, Tom May, shoves to the corner, catch, shoot, triple, Brandon Allen, bullseye, Brandon Allen. Thought he came in for defense.
We'll share his story and check in on Seminole baseball and softball when FSU Headlines continues in a moment. Welcome back to FSU Headlines. The FAMU FSU College of Engineering is home to a student athlete who's taking a unique path to graduation.
And Seshmi Mark Vaughn joins us now with the story of senior Seminole basketball player Brandon Allen. And Mark, Brandon is not your typical college senior, is he?
No, he is not, and that might be an understatement to say he's not your typical college student athlete. He spent his first few years playing professional baseball and then eventually found his way here to Florida State to play basketball. They say every journey begins with the first step.
It's been a long journey, but it's flown by.
For redshirt senior Florida State forward Brandon Allen, his journey to FSU started a few years ago while stepping onto a different playing field. Brandon Allen started his playing career out of Milton High School as a professional baseball player in the Giants minor league organization. But after a few years on the mound as a pitcher, he started to think about the other sport that he loved to play.
I can just remember when I was playing baseball, just being in hotel rooms and watching March Madness and just dreaming about coming to Florida State and being a part of that.
After making up his mind that it was time to give basketball another shot, there was really nowhere else to go but FSU.
Screen set by Boris, dribble driver, Tom May, shoves to the corner, catch, shoot, triple, Brandon Allen, bullseye, Brandon Allen.
Brandon has some deep roots at Florida State. Growing up, he had a role model in former Florida State basketball player and his dad, Randy Allen.
It's like it was yesterday. I mean, you see him on the court and something happens, you're like, that feeling goes through you. You feel it again. I mean, it's, they say you live through your kids, and you do live through your kids, and he's definitely made us proud.
But the pressure was never on to follow in his dad's footsteps on the court.
He was more pushing me just to be great, and he wasn't like trying to get me to go to Florida State or go here. He was just trying to get me better and to get a scholarship.
But as fate would have it, their paths ended up intertwined anyway, wearing the same garnet and gold after all. This story could end right here on Senior Day, with a transition from pro baseball to college basketball, and the symmetry of two Allens both playing for Florida State. But there's still more to Brandon Allen's story.
One of the main reasons that I came to Florida State, not just to play basketball, but my main goal was to get my education, get a good degree, and that's why I came here.
You see, Brandon is not just an athlete, he's a student athlete, and he takes pride in that.
He's an electrical engineering major. And any electrical engineering major who gets to this point, just a couple months away from graduation, who's got close to a 3.5 GPA, it's a very impressive. And for Brandon to have done that while playing basketball for 5 years, while dealing with nagging injuries himself that cost him a season, and not have lost that focus, says a lot about him as an individual. Obviously, it says a lot about the job his parents did with him. And I think, again, it comes back to, it says a lot about Coach Hamilton and his staff and the academic program.
While he's considered a team leader in practice and in games,
well, there's no doubt having a guy who doesn't get rattled, a guy who thinks things through, doing those emotional, stressful components, and the wisdom that he has gained in the words that he shares with our players will be with a lot of wisdom and experiences, really helps them grow and understand and make better decisions.
He probably shows the most leadership off the court to his younger teammates with his pursuits in the classroom as an electrical engineering major.
He's always locked in on the scouting reports. I mean, even during the season, he's getting extra running in on the treadmill. And academically, he's just always working on his major, and it's just very motivating to see.
I really have no choice. It's like my responsibility. I have a lot more life experience, and the coaches are dependent on me to act that way, because I mean, I can just think of myself when I was 18. I mean, a lot of the pressures these guys got to deal with, it's tough. And me being around and just handling things, I try to handle things the right way and provide an example for those guys. And yeah, I definitely take pride in that.
And he's been able to successfully manage his playing career and his rigorous classes in the FAMU FSU College of Engineering, earning a Golden Torch Award and being honored as one of the National Association of Basketball Coaches Honor Court members. While Brandon Allen takes his final steps on this journey, he plans to enjoy every moment of his dream come true.
Even when I'm gone, Florida State's going to be with me forever. I'll be a part of this this university for the rest of my life, and I'm just thankful for all the experiences that I've had here.
For FSU Headlines, I'm Mark Vaughn. And another senior on this year's team got the surprise of the season during senior day against Boston College at the Tuck. Brian Angola received his honorary jersey with family and friends, and I say family with emphasis because he was surprised by his mom, who traveled all the way from Columbia to be there on his big day to celebrate a tremendous Florida State career with her son. As you can see, it was emotional for the family and pretty much everyone in attendance. Oh, and the Noles went on to win the game 86-75 to cap the regular season and end the year at 13-2 on the home floor. What a great honor. All right, now over to baseball. The Seminoles are off to a hot start to the 2018 season, of course, coming off a year where the team made it all the way to the College World Series in 2017. The Noles got to 11-0 to start the year, maybe a subconscious honor for number 11, Mike Martin, who's looking to become the winningest coach in NCAA history this season with just over 20 more wins. The Noles running through the non-conference slate to start this campaign, beating the likes of UNC Asheville and Kansas, among others. But of course, things only getting tougher down the road once ACC play opens up in March with Wake Forest. Now on to the softball diamond, and the Noles starting the year with some big wins and a couple of disappointing losses. A monumental win over number 6 Oregon has the Noles on the right track after the unconquered invitational at Joanne Graff Field in early March. Splits with the likes of Michigan and Alabama show the Noles can beat some good teams, but they slip up at times too early on this season. They'll look for some more consistency at the plate in ACC play in the month of March and heading into April. Jessica Warren, though, a bright spot at the plate with 8 home runs through the first few weeks of the season. That's setting a new ACC career mark with 67 career homers in the process. And obviously a lot of sports action going on this spring. You can keep up to date, obviously, with Seminoles.com.
All right, Mark, thanks for that update. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of FSU Headlines, but you can keep up with FSU News anytime on Florida State's official website, news.fsu.edu.
For Dennis and everyone here at Florida State University, I'm Seshmi Hayes. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.